Hi everybody, Dan Illman, Matt Bernier. A huge evening of racing scheduled for Churchill Downs on Saturday. Let's take a look at the main event. Race number 8 is the Grade 1 Stephen Foster Handicap. A half mil on the line. We're going a mile and an eighth. Matterfield and 9, some nice handicap horses. Let's take it from the top, beginning with the number 1, Honorable Duty. This is a multiple graded stakes winner. Things didn't work out very well in the Clark Handicap to complete his 5-year-old campaign, but it was nice to see him get back on the winning beam in his first start off a long layoff, although he did walk on the lead.
Yeah, I mean, that's really the thing there. I mean, they crawled on the front end, and he took token pressure from the outside and drew off. He's just better than those horses with the likes of Guest Sweet and Goatstown in there. The interesting thing about him, I like him. He's a likable horse. The problem is, it feels like when he's been tested against the best of the best, he's not quite of that caliber. I like him underneath in a race like this. I don't think he can win, but I think he can get a piece.
6-1 on the morning line under Corey Lanner. He's got a versatile running style. He loves Churchill Downs. 4 for 8 under the Twin Spires. The number 2, Patch, similarly came off of a long layoff to win his seasonal debut. That was an entry-level allowance race going a one-turn route at Belmont Park, and I just didn't think he beat much that day. It was nice to see a career best Buyer speed figure from the third-place finisher of the 2017 Belmont.
I like the way he did it. That was a race that, for the most part, held up. There wasn't a lot of passing going on, and Patch basically rallied from the back. I spoke about it a little bit when I did my show earlier. I feel like if you took his name out and you gave him a different name, people would look at him and say, oh, you know what, he's a little bit interesting. Maybe he's on the upcoming sort of swing. But when people see Patch, they immediately, for some reason, he's just the butt of all the jokes because of the Derby and all that other kind of stuff. I don't think he's really run any kind of terrible race with the exception of the Derby. I think he's an okay little horse, and there's a part of me that wonders if he's going to appreciate this more distance.
I think he will appreciate this distance. I think he will appreciate stretching out to around 2 turns. And you've got to admit that Todd Pletcher's showing a lot of confidence in only his second start back off that long injury-induced layoff to throw him right into a Grade 1 like the Stephen Foster. I guess you got to keep an eye on Patch. The number 3 is Hakam. He is a one-run closer that took the Razorback 3 starts back under a dream ride from Corey Lannery, who opts for Honorable Duty this time around.
Hakam, he's a blue-collar horse. He's really easy to root for. He's a neat runner, shows up and runs each and every time. 9 of 42 lifetime, 16 times second or third. I don't think he's good enough to win here, but he's another kind of horse. If you're playing any sort of an exotic wager, use him underneath.
Thought he vindicated his effort in the Razorback last time out in the Ali Sheba when a no-match second to Backyard Heaven, who we'll get to in a little bit. That track kind of favoring speed types. We know Hakam likes to come from the back of the pack, and he made a good solid run to finish second at 26-1. I still think this horse is in good form. The question is, will he get pace? Cue the Timeform US pace projector. Timeform US believes he will get a little bit of pace, as you see from that red bar indicating a fast pace is expected for the Stephen Foster. And Uncle Mojo, the other Todd Pletcher trained runner, is expected to set the pace. Now, he stalked and pounced last time out at Pimlico over that wet track. He did not beat much that day. I think that with a fast-paced scenario, he's going to really have to run a lifetime best as he stretches back out to a mile and an eighth.
I'm interested to see Velasquez named here and not on Patch. You have Luis Saez aboard Patch when Johnny V's ridden both of these horses recently. Very rarely do you get a bargain in horse racing. We've talked about this numerous times. This horse only sold for $45,000, and Uncle Mo stands for $1.25. I have to be honest with you, I haven't been blown away by anything he's done. I understand he blew that field out last time at Pimlico over the sloppy sealed track. He needs to prove to me that he actually belongs here, and I suppose his best option is to go to the front and try to wire him, but even having said that, I don't like his chances.
Mach is the number 5. This horse is very closely related to Funnyside, who of course did some very good things at Churchill Downs. He's won his last 3 races, and boy, he popped a triple-digit Buyer speed figure last time out at Arlington Park going a one-turn mile, and it's kind of been odd that these connections have been, and his prior connections, have been reluctant to stretch him out considering his pedigree. Here's a formulator fact for Matru's trainer. Over the past 3 years, moving from synthetic to dirt, 5 for 10, 8 in the money, and a $6.14 ROI. That's a big Buyer last time out. Was it the synth?
I think that's probably part of it. I also think one turn. I understand the pedigree is there. You would think at face value additional distance is his friend, but he's run at longer distances in the past, and okay, he's won a couple times going 2 turns, but I think he's done his best work going shorter, going one turn. The synthetic certainly wasn't a problem for him. He actually ran very well that day, I thought, in the Hanshin Cup. I don't think he fits well in here, but I do think there is still some. It's nice to see that he can still run, because there was a part of me that wondered at one point if it was all over for him. He clearly can still do it a little bit. I just don't like him here.
I think he's a sleeper to hit the board at a price. He beat 3 next out winners in that Hanshin. He was good enough to finish third in the 2015 Cigar Mile when only beaten a half length to Tonalist, so he does have back class on the dirt, and he does seem to have a little bit of tactical speed. The morning line favorite and the hot favorite is Chad Brown's number 6, Backyard Heaven, who's won 3 of 4. He's popped buyer speed figures of 105 and 108 in his last 2 races, and he handled the 2-turn test last time out in the Ali Sheba when he dueled an off-form Kentucky Derby winner, Always Dreaming, into the ground and kept right on going. Are you worried about this extra 16th of a mile? Because I have to admit, you know I'm this horse's biggest fan. I'm worried about him going a mile and an eighth, especially with some other pace pressure.
Especially also the way that he finished in that Ali Sheba. It's hard to ignore the fact that he has numerous layoff lines in his career. He's only run 4 times, and he's a 4-year-old. And at the end of that Ali Sheba, he popped back to his left lead. Now, you can say it's a couple different things. Maybe he was just bored out there. I don't know. But there's a part of me that says a horse going 2 turns for the first time. He's had some physical issues in the past. This is just the last thing I wanted to see was him go over and do that, because he was so awesome prior to that. He's obviously the horse to beat from a figure standpoint. He just lays over this field for the most part, but at a really short number, and I think a very, very short number. I think he should be in that 5 to 2, 3 to 1 range. I think he's going to be considerably less than that. He makes a lot of sense, but I would just tread lightly with this additional distance until he proves he can do it.
He is 6 to 5 on the morning line for the Stephen Foster. Looking at Lee, the runner-up in the 2017 Kentucky Derby, broke a very long losing streak last time out at Churchill Downs. And lo and behold, this older version of Looking at Lee seems like he's got a lot more tactical speed than the one that we were accustomed to back as a 3-year-old. Here's a formulator fact for Steve Asmussen. Over the past 5 years, older last out winners off a minor layoff in graded stake dirt routes, 31% winners and a $2.27 ROI. All those nice things being said, Looking at Lee is still a little bit slow on paper.
Yeah, I mean, if you just look at it from a fig standpoint, he's too slow to win a race like this. I guess it's an interesting thing to note that he was as close to the pace as he was last time, because that's just not been his MO throughout his career. I have to be honest, I'd be surprised if he was that close this time around. I think you revert back to his best running style, take him off and try to make one run.
Let's take a look at our top selections for the Grade 1 Stephen Foster Handicap. Matt, you're going with the 8, Irish Warcry, who to me is an enigma wrapped in a riddle. Sometimes he is brilliant. Sometimes you watch his races and go, what happened? Last time out, I know what happened. In the Pimlico Special, he got a great ride from Jose Ortiz, and I wonder if this is the kind of horse. You get him out front, and he hulks up kind of like in the heart-to-heart mold.
100%. I think it really is as simple as that. You go through his past performances, hit the best races of his career, the Pimlico Special, the Belmont Stakes, the Wood Memorial, the Holy Bowl. What is the common denominator? He is forwardly placed, if not outright on the lead in all of those races. And the races where he's tried to sit a length or 2 or 3 off of it, those happen to be the ones where he just completely throws in a dud. 2 turns, distance, I think both things that he wants. Jose Ortiz, if I'm giving instructions, he's got to be forwardly placed. Be aggressive with this horse, because I don't want to see another instance where he's sitting too off of it. I understand maybe that outer draw, maybe you would naturally think you want to just sit off of a target. I don't think that's how this horse wants to go. I think you got to be aggressive, push him to the front, and at that point, tell everybody else, come and catch you. You're a good quality horse. Use your speed to your advantage.
And I think that outer draw actually helps here, because I expect Jose to be real aggressive coming out of the gate. But if Uncle Mojo wants the lead, great. You'll be happy sitting off Uncle Mojo in a striking position when the real racing begins on the turn. I might get a little bit of heat for taking Pavel here, the number 9 at 5 to 1. At face value, he just hasn't really improved since his Jockey Club Gold Cup. An excellent performance as a lightly raced 3-year-old way back last year, but since then he hasn't had chances in a lot of his races. The Breeders' Cup Classic, he was completely overmatched. The Malibu going 7 furlongs, I thought that was a good enough effort at a distance that's a little bit short for him. You could argue he was best in the San Pasquale, when in behind a wall of horses turning into the stretch, forced to run sideways for most of the stretch. And once he got free, he came with a run. Dubai World Cup, speed bias track, wide throughout, never had a chance. And last time out of the Gold Cup at Santa Anita, he was just very cold on the board, almost as if they knew, somebody knew, that maybe he was a race short, because he was in with a chance turning into the stretch. And once Mario tipped him out 4 wide, the big 3 just ran away from him. I wonder if he needed that race. I like Pavel turning back slightly here to 1 mile and an eighth. I think the price will be right, and I think he'll get some pace as per Timeform US.
Yeah, I don't think price is going to be a problem. I think you're going to get a very, very square number on this horse. I've gone the other way on him. I loved him as a 3-year-old, and to me, I was terrified when they ran him in the Breeders' Cup. I thought it was too much too soon. Give him time. Let him come back as a good 4-year-old. You're right about those 3 races, though, the Malibu, the San Pasquale, and the World Cup. That's why I at least thought he had a puncher's chance in the Gold Cup. Maybe he was just a short horse, and he needed a race. But I just hated that when the real running started, he stopped. There was nothing there. I guess to me, this is really sort of the make or break moment for him. If he doesn't run well on Saturday night, then I think it might be all over. If he runs well and at least threatens and maybe hits the board, then maybe you can go on and there's more there. But to me, he's just, I don't want to gamble on him knowing that I don't know where he is. I think there's a scenario where if he gets back to his jockey club or even that Smarty Jones, the 3-year-old, he certainly is a major contender. I just don't know where he is right now. I'm going to start going the other way. If he wins, I'll lose.
We're both 5-1 on the morning line. Give me numbers.
I'm going to go 8, 6, 1, and 2 in here.
I'm going to go 9, 6, 5, and 8 in the Grade 1 Stephen Foster. Race number 8 at Churchill Downs on Saturday evening as an approximate post time of 9:39 Eastern. Good luck.